want to introduce you to our next workshop, which is all about making change. In other words, if you get a certain amount of money you have to give back to somebody, how many quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies do you have to give back? So there are a couple things you're going to learn from this workshop. One is the fact that doing calculations involving money as involved with this sort of problem causes problems because you're carrying the fraction, and the fraction can have fractional sense. And when you have a fraction of a cent, things don't always work out precisely because people don't want 1.5 cents back or 1.25 cents. They want 1 cent or 2 cents. So in order to do calculations precisely, we convert it all with proper rounding to a total number of cents and then do all our calculations in cents. The second problem is, how do you figure out how many dimes, quarters, and nickels there are in a certain amount of money? Well, I'm not going to answer that question, but I'm going to show you how we solve a similar problem. And the similar problem is working with a time in days, hours, and minutes. So this is a little program that takes 2 times in days, hours, and minutes and adds them up. So enter the first time as days, hours, and minutes. So 1 day, 12 hours, and 30 minutes. And then we'll add 2 days, 12 hours, and 30 minutes. And it should add up the total for us. And it says that adds up to 4 days, 1 hours, and 0 minutes. And if you add it up, 1 plus 3, 2 is 3 days, 12 and 12 makes a 4th day, and then 30 and 30 makes 1 hour. So there you have it. It adds up to exactly 4 days, 1 hours, and 0 minutes. Now let's look at the program and see how it did this. So it reads in the first days, hours, minutes, and figures it out as the total number of minutes. It is going to convert everything to total minutes and represent it as total minutes. And then it's going to do the same thing for the second day, and then it's going to add them together to get the combined number of minutes in those 2 days, and then it's going to convert back. I'm going to use a constant, which I work out once, which is the number of minutes per day, which is simply 24 by 60, so I don't have to type it again. I read in the first days, hours, and minutes, and the second days, hours, and minutes. And I say the total minutes on day 1 is days 1 times minutes per day plus hours times 60 plus the number of minutes. And then the same calculation is done for the second day. And the combined minutes is simply adding them together. So now I've converted everything to minutes, added them together, and I've got my result in minutes. So the question is, well, now that I've got all these minutes, how do I convert them back into days, hours, and minutes? So I print out the number of days is the combined minutes divided by min per day, or the number of minutes per day. That is going to be integer division, and it will return how many times minutes per day goes into that, and that will actually give me the number of days. Because I've got a huge number of minutes, I see how many minutes per day go into it, and that gives me the number of days. If there's a fraction, integer division simply throws it away, and I get the number of days. But it probably didn't work out precisely. So there may be something left over. And that amount left over is a bunch of minutes that didn't get accounted for in those number of days. To find those, I can use a really good trick using modulus. I say my combined minutes is my old combined minutes modulus minutes per day. That divides it by minutes per day, but rather than retaining how many times it goes into combined minutes, the way they did figuring out the days, it figures out how many minutes are left over, which is how many we have to account for after subtracting out those number of days. And it's exactly what we want. So this is now the new combined minutes after we have subtracted out the number of days. So the hours is the combined minutes divided by 60, because there's 60 minutes in an hour, and that tells us how many hours we have. Then I have to figure out how many minutes are left over. Well, I do combined minutes mod 60, and that becomes the combined minutes, and that's how many minutes are left over. And then I print out the minutes are however combined minutes are left over. So I am using modulus to essentially subtract off how many times it's gone in and just retain what's left over after the division. So this is a really good use of modulus. So I'll let you go on and start the workshop, and I hope these hints help you out.